Welcome to the Honest to God Cast, a podcast dedicated to learning the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I'm your host, Stephen B. Hi everyone, I'm Stephen B. I'm your host for the Honest to God Cast, and this is a preview of the podcast that I was planning on doing on the crystal skulls. I'm not going to be in the video feed because I'm still getting major dental surgery done, and it's maybe kind of camera shy. So just consider this a preview. We're going to do the actual podcast at a later date, but I wanted to give you a preview of what we're going to be doing. Alright, so when talking about the crystal skulls, I cannot help but talk about ooparts. 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 That stands for out of place artifacts. And give you an example of what that is. Take a look right now at this London hammer, which was found in London, Texas. The hammer was purportedly found by a local couple, Maxan and a female friend, while out walking along the course of the Red Creek near the town of London. And they spotted a curious piece of loose rock with a bit of wood embedded in it, and they took it home with them. Eventually it got broken, and the metal hammerhead showed up, and it's approximately 6 inches long, has a diameter of 1 inch. It consists of 96.6% iron, 2.6% chlorine, and 0.74% sulfur. The interesting thing, though, is that it was found in 400 million year old rock strata. So that's the thing about these ooparts. Some people consider them glitches in the matrix. Some people consider them proof of time travel. Some people consider them to be proof of the looking glass technologies, and so we can wildly speculate about it, but the bottom line is the ooparts are actual artifacts, but they're ancient, but they come from the future. I know that's a lot to think about, and it doesn't make sense if you think in time as linear. If you think of time in the sense of like back in ancient Israel, the word for eternal was ulam, which meant self-perpetuating. It didn't mean like forever and ever. It meant, like the time lines run into each other. That's another thing that ooparts, people consider them earmarks for time divergences, where you have timeline A that goes into a future that is maybe not good for humanity, and then you have timeline B, and that goes into a different future altogether. But let's look at another oopart. This is a Kexdorf sphere, and Klerpsdorf sphere, and so look at this. These are look like they've been machined. They all have 3 lines engraved in them, and these go back to 2.8 billion year old. So once again, it's from the future, but it's ancient. So that 2.8 billion years, that coincides with, and this is not according to me, this is according to people like Corey Good and David Wilcock and guys like that do more research on that aspect of it than I do. But that was at the time when Venus was Earth-like, and it's sometimes called the progenitor race and sometimes called the builder race, when those people were third density beings. And so anyway, I think that the crystal skulls are genuine, true ooparts and need to be examined that way instead of just an archaeological find. Okay, so having said all that about ooparts, I want to make a point that ooparts are not just out of place artifacts. They're actually out of time artifacts, which explains, I mean, if you look at it linearly, that hammer should have rusted and the wood had been turned to coal, which didn't happen. So they're out of time. Remember, it's not time and space or space and time. It's space-time. It's a continuum. It's like a fabric. And so anyway, getting back to the crystal skulls, the one in this picture right here is the Mitchell Hedges skull, and it was found in Belize by Anna Mitchell Hedges at the age of 16. She was the daughter of an actual archaeologist who was at a dig in Belize at the time. Some sources say it was 1924, some sources say 1927, but that's why it's called the Mitchell Hedges skull. And after Anna's passing, the present caretaker, I believe, is Bill Homan. The skull had been examined by Hewlett-Packard's research, and they concluded that it was unlikely carved because it goes against the axis of the quartz itself, and it would shatter and everything. It's been known to shoot out blue lights out of its eye sockets and completely shut down hard drives on computers. So what's that all about? Well, when another researcher and I were talking about ooparts one day, and we talked about the crystal skulls, and I made the claim that they were exoskeletons for higher density beings. I know that sounds crazy, and I think he probably thought so too, but he was open-minded. He said, based on what evidence? So I'm going to show you some actual evidence. So take a look at this picture. This is a MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. We are electrical biological units, and that energy that's involved in the brain synapses and nerve plexus and all of that actually lights up, and with magnetic resonance imaging you can take a picture of it. And this one I think is frontal view. I don't know what the division in there is, but it's just quite beautiful. Just take a look at it for a second and notice the colors and the strands. We'll call them strands that are involved there. And on this one, this is a top-down MRI of the human brain. This is a living creature, obviously, a human being. And you can see the longitudinal fissure in the right and left hemisphere, and you can see what's going on with those strands and how it's communicating both sides of the brain. And so this one is side view. It's actually quite beautiful. I think it looks like a tree almost. So anyway, just notice the filaments and the strands, the different colors. Okay, now look at this. This is what's going to blow us away. This is a side-by-side view of MRI of a living human being and the Mitchell Hedges skull. So let's take it a section at a time. Look at the occipital area on the brain scan. Just notice how it looks, how it fits into the skull. and then take a look at the crystal skull, and it's the same thing. And then you see those light filaments in the parietal area of the brain, and how they kind of feather up and wrap around. And then look at the crystal skull. It's the same thing. And if you can't see that, then I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. Let's bang the rocks together, and maybe we can come up with a different explanation of it. But this shows me that this was a living creature. And take a look at the eye socket. See how it comes down into a cone, and you can actually see the optic nerve as it goes back into the brain. The same thing on the brain scan. You can see the optic nerve. But this is really interesting. Take a look at the mouth. Notice the mouth. You can actually see lips there, and the top lip is like curved up, and the bottom lip is like curved down, but you can plainly see that's lips. So don't think of this as a skull per se. Think of this as an actual exoskeleton. Now, at the time that it was functioning, I'll say, it was more plasticine. It was more like a liquid crystal. It could function. It could do all those things. And so this is just part of the evidence, and we're going to include a lot more when I get into doing the actual podcast, and we'll have interviews and so forth. And we'll get into another crystal skull called Max. The caretaker of Max right now, I believe, is Joanna Parks. Max is so vocal, actually. Well, not vocal, but so channeling, and gives so much information that she actually has to put them in a closet. And once in a while she takes them on tour, gives people one-on-one time with them. And I believe that there is a way through these new technologies that are actually old technologies, but we're just learning about them, like the looking glass technology. And I believe that David Lone Bear Cinepass would be able to help us in this, because he's been interpreting the copper plates now for many, many years, has about 10 to 15% of it translated, and there are actually blueprints on devices that he has actually made based on crystalline technology. And so we'll leave you with those thoughts, and thank you for watching this video, and we'll be in touch soon, and we'll let you know when the actual podcast is up. And I'm your host, Stephen B. Thank you for your time.